Hey everybody out there in TV land, Eddie the Tattooed Realtor here, coming to you live from Margate, Florida. So today's video, I've been thinking a lot about it over the last couple of weeks, is about farming. I'm not talking about the physical act of farming like growing crops or raising cattle. I'm talking about farming when it comes to real estate. A lot of times when people talk about farming, it's like one of those words people just throw out. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I farm this area, or yeah, I do farming. But over the last 7 years, I've had a lot of experience with this concept and idea of farming. And honestly, it's not until recently that I actually started employing very specific systems in place in order to execute it as efficiently as possible. So I want to share with you in this short video about the different things that I've come into contact with. So, let's jump straight into it. Farming is something that I believe works entirely. And what I mean by farming is, choosing a very specific area, a very specific type of customer base, and creating content specifically for them in order to become the authority in that particular area, And I'll give you a personal example. So my wife and I moved to Margate about 2 years ago, and my focus was that I really wanted to be an asset to the residents of Margate. I live here, I own a home here, I'm becoming very familiar with the different types of resources and tools and taxes and just everything that is about the community, which I love it. And I wanted to become the go-to authority when it comes to real estate stuff here in Margate. So what I started doing was I decided, you know what? First of all, you have to check to see what the turnover rate is in the particular area that you want to farm. So I went into the MLS and I looked at the average price range for homes in the area. I looked at how long they stay on the market, how often they sell, if they sell at all, what kind of properties are they, so on and so forth. And I also started doing some research into how many agents were in this particular area. Now, after all that research, everything looked very positive according to my standards. So I implemented different plans of attack to become an authority in the area. And I did this from various means in various ways. So, and I'm continuing to work on it because I believe that the residents of Margate, where I live, deserve the absolute best they possibly can. I'm not saying all realtors are out there to take advantage of people, but I want to make sure that my residents, my AKA family, is protected. So that's kind of where I started, and then I decided to go off in a different direction in terms of how I advertise and market and all that kind of stuff. So I tell you that story because I wanted to give you kind of like a base of where to start. If you're looking to farm an area, which I highly agree with, because a lot of times you find with real estate professionals is that they take every and any listing they can possibly find. And that's great to a certain extent, but you got to be very, very careful. You've got to make sure that you take the time to properly analyze your area. So this is how I would do it. If I'm beginning to farm a new area, first I decide, where you want to farm. I recommend doing your home community if you're able to, because 9 times out of 10, you might be sitting on a gold mine just here and you'll be able to help your fellow residents because that's a great thing. You want to be able to create like brand ambassadors or super fans that, begin to share the word of what you're all about. So first off, what I would do is I would go into your MLS and I would search just around your home if that's where you choose to farm or whatever area you want to farm. And these are the things I would look for. Once I do a search, I'd probably focus on whatever type of real estate you want to sell or become the expert in. Me personally, I like single family homes. Condos and townhomes are great, but single family homes I'm just more familiar with. And I like to, there aren't as many variables. Even though with condos and townhomes, I've sold tons of them, I like single family homes. So what I would do is you go into your MLS, you search single family homes in and around your area or whatever market area you want to farm. And then I look at the things that are available, closed, and pending. And what I like to look for is I like to look for an even match, meaning like a third, a third, a third. I want to see a third of them active, a third of them pending, a third of them closed. And I like to see that because it means there's turnover. Sometimes when people begin to farm areas, they don't take a minute to really properly analyze that area. And then what happens is that they begin to farm, spending money and time. Time's more important because you can't make more time, you can make more money. In farming an area that the turnover is horrible, like properties sit on the market for like 8 months. I don't know about you, but 8 months is quite a bit of long time in order to wait for that property to sell. So you want to make sure to do that analysis. I try to go for a third. Remember that, okay? Once you find that area, I would say the next step is to become familiar with what type of customer base that is. Meaning like the age range, families, young families, kids, senior citizens, veterans, so on and so forth. The reason why you want to become familiar with that particular customer base is because then you can create things that they will find useful and beneficial, and that'll help them, which will begin to help you in being the authority, the real estate authority in that area. So once you've determined the area and the customer base, now it comes to creating the different types of marketing that you could use in order to begin to acquire more real estate business. Now with marketing, we could talk hours and hours, and I'll probably make a couple more videos about different types of marketing aspects. But what I recommend is just start with social media. Social media, Instagram and Facebook marketing and YouTube marketing is so, the value is there. That the dollar spent or the $2 spent is well worth, the return is well worth it. The reason why I say digital media is probably the ideal place to start with is because print media is great, and I think that should be integrated into your funnel, but social media, everybody's there. Old, young, male, female, different races, ethnicity, everybody is there. So you just have to figure out what social media platform is going to work best for them. Now I noticed that like the age range from like 35 and up, maybe even like 33 and up, because I'm 33 and up, is more on the Facebook group, and then from 33 and down is more on the Instagram group. Now depending on who you're trying to work with more, whether or not it be renters or buyers or sellers, you're going to create your marketing campaigns on each platform differently. Now once you've created these marketing campaigns, so let's take a step back. You've decided where you're going to farm, you've understood the customer base. Once you've understood the customer base, you understand where they are, now you need to create a highly targeted ad specifically for them. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a home value report or an analysis of sorts. Maybe it's a simple landing page that you're working with buyers to help them gain information about different loan programs. Whatever it is, you have to create a very targeted, highly targeted piece in order to get them to react, to move, right? And then of course, once you have that ad in place, you're going to definitely want to build a funnel. Now, I can create videos later on about funnels, and you could easily Google it, but I use a program called Pipedrive. It's about $15 a month. It's a CRM, a customer resource relationship manager kind of thing, and it allows me to create these funnels so that I can keep track of what I need to do next for each customer. Whether or not it's sending a postcard, because that's when print media comes more into play. Once they've reacted to the digital media, then they could be worked into maybe a print media campaign. And once you've created this funnel, you can create different funnels for the different types of customers that you're working for, whether or not it's buyers or sellers or tenants or whatever the case may be. So those are my general thoughts about farming. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Of course, I'd love for you to subscribe and like this video. I'm here to help any way I possibly can. My contact information is below. Just to recap before we go. So farming. I believe farming is extremely invaluable. I believe that it is a proven method that works. You need to make sure to follow that third rule. You kind of want to see like a third when it comes to selling or active, pending, and closed listings. You need to determine that customer base that you want to work with. You got to understand where to target them when it comes to marketing on social media, because that's where I'd recommend starting, and then working them into a funnel so that you can stay in front of them at least once a month, if not more than that. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Eddie the Tattooed Realtor signing off for you on this lovely Monday, or whenever you're watching, it's Monday today. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.